I want to meditate. I want to learn how to meditate. You cannot learn how to meditate. True meditation arises spontaneously as a natural expression of one's inner state. Curiously, only those who have already reached the level of Samadhi are truly capable of attaining it. To embark on it, one must refuse using obscene language and blindly following their mind. There are always smarty pants who say, you don't need to do anything, everything is already there for you. If that's the case, then stop eating, stop breathing, and instantly enter a state of cosmic consciousness. Why don't you do that? When the mind is still and thoughts are calm, that is meditation. But Samadhi is the absence of mind altogether. Nothing is quiet and nothing is loud. Samadhi transcends every form of evaluation. Everything in our lives is inextricably linked to karma, just as our psychological patterns and spiritual experiences are rooted in karma. For instance, every individual is born with a certain karmic conditioning already imprinted upon them. I wouldn't say that this conditioning is an aggravation of karma, nor that it inevitably brings certain burdens into one's life, such as deprivation. Yet it does determine the trajectory of one's life journey. A conditioned mind is also a reflection of one's karma. The problem is that many people who yearn for Samadhi have no genuine understanding of the nature of this state. One may deeply desire Samadhi, yet often has no real grasp of what it truly is. And when they do approach it, they may feel the urge to retreat. There is often no real comprehension of what this state really is, nor how to attain it. The obstacles encountered on the spiritual path, the frustrations we experience when we can't achieve what we desire, like superpowers, are all manifestations of karma. Curiously, only those who have already reached the level of Samadhi are truly capable of attaining it. Here is something important. People often say, I want to meditate. I want to learn how to meditate. But meditation is not something learnable. I say this often. You cannot learn to meditate. True meditation arises spontaneously as a natural expression of one's inner state. One should not chase after Samadhi or meditation. It's futile. Your mind may urge you, you must attain meditation, you must reach Samadhi. And yet the ego, the personality, and the mind all know that Samadhi lies beyond their boundaries. Put simply, in Samadhi, the personality vanishes. It dies. It's easier to think of it that way. The mind keeps telling you, you must achieve Samadhi. But do you really believe it will let you do it? It won't, because it knows that at that very moment it will cease to exist. That's the conflict at the heart of it. What I am explaining now is quite simple and accessible to the ordinary person who may keep repeating Samadhi, Samadhi. In truth, Samadhi is a state that transcends the confines of the mind. At times it arises spontaneously. In this lifetime, this spontaneous experience arose as a result of my spiritual practice, both from the past and from this very life. From an intense concentration of consciousness upon the final point, the ultimate goal. A person is capable of gathering and concentrating all energies on a single point, and from that concentration, meditation or samadhi may arise. I can only speak from personal experience, of course, but in general, while the methods of approach may differ, the process of experiencing samadhi is fundamentally the same for all. The only real variation lies in the depth of that experience. Some experience it profoundly, while others only faintly. Yet even just 5% or even 1% of samadhi matters a lot. Imagine a person whose life force is 99% directed outward, and just 1% of samadhi breaks through. Even that 1% can bring a profound experience, because that single percent contains the weight of 90. This is an immense force. Karma wields a powerful influence, but it shouldn't be regarded negatively. This is a common misunderstanding of the law of karma. People tend to think of it as something inherently bad. Yet, it's important to study this law deeply, to immerse yourself in it, observe it, explore its workings. This is why we speak of the importance of self-exploration. When one begins to explore their own nature deeply, they begin to realize that whatever occurs in life serves to help them dive even deeper, or rise even higher, whichever image resonates more with you. So yes, on the one hand, karma influences us. On the other, it points the way, revealing what must be done. The path to Samadhi begins right before you. To embark on it, one must refuse using obscene language and blindly following their ever-wandering mind. One must reasonably approach their duty of self-exploration and accept themselves the way they are. Rather than building castles in the air, one should proceed step by step with spiritual practice, consistently following the Master's guidance. Without this, it is difficult to progress. There are always smarty pants who say, you don't need to do anything, everything is already there for you. If that's the case, then stop eating, stop breathing, and instantly enter a state of cosmic consciousness. Why don't you do that? Yet when such people have to face challenges, they begin to feel indignant. Why is this happening? Why do things go wrong? But if everything is already there, if you've already reached your cosmos, then why the distress? If things are not working out, then commit to self-development step by step. Explore yourself. Practice regularly, because holding the idea of Samadhi in the mind doesn't bring you any closer to real Samadhi. In true Samadhi, the mind is no longer present. When the mind is still and thoughts are calm, that is meditation. But Samadhi is the absence of mind altogether. There is no concept of stillness, silence, or noise. Nothing is quiet and nothing is loud. It is a state beyond description. Samadhi transcends every form of evaluation. I've spoken of this many times, and I've said it before. It cannot be expressed in words. There's no way to explain it. Samadhi is a state in which you become the entire universe. In other words, you are no longer merely a part of it, you are the universe. And in an even deeper state, you become the foundation of the universe itself, the primary source from which it arises. How can this be grasped by the mind? That is why it is so important to recognize the following. We know that meditation is something that happens, a state that arises on its own. This is how some masters speak of it too. Samadhi, like meditation, is the natural outcome of your spiritual practice. Therefore, rather than striving anxiously to attain Samadhi, you should dedicate all our inner resources and energy to spiritual growth, walking the path to which you are committed. As a result, meditation begins to happen, ultimately leading you to Samadhi. I can say that people do quite often find themselves in such states spontaneously. It is not necessarily the deepest or intense form of Samadhi, but it occurs quite often. Even a cat can experience a state of Samadhi when it sees a target, a mouse, for example. Have you ever observed a cat preparing to pounce? Or a tiger? Nothing can distract them. Their entire being is concentrated. It's in their nature. They are focused on the target and edge closer to it with silent, deliberate movement. You can even observe a slight tremor in their body. I have watched this closely. This is what we might call Samadhi, a state of intense concentration. The difference is that animals do not possess creative perception or self-awareness in the way that humans do. This ability is unique to human nature. Even other civilizations are incapable of it. Just imagine that. But we do have it. This is what sets us apart from all other beings in the universe. Only a human being can attain the self-aware dimension of Samadhi. Animals simply follow their inherent instincts. They act as if they've been pre-programmed. Outwardly, they may appear to be intensely concentrated. It's like the pure focused intensity of a lion chasing a hare. Do you see the point? It's just a hare, something the lion could easily catch. Yet the lion throws itself into the pursuit, accumulating all its energy, as though the hare were far greater prey, something of immense importance that must be captured. The focused intensity of a lion chasing a hare. And like that lion, we must cultivate a sincere, intense concentration on our highest goal. If we have truly set such a goal for ourselves, in this case we speak of a spiritual growth. And to approach it, we must gather and direct all our energy into a single point of concentration. This is spiritual practice, sadhana, and sooner or later it will happen. Another vital point to understand is this: meditation and samadhi are a gift. What does this mean? It means that the experience of samadhi, even its symbolic perception, is the experience of the Creator's presence. It's as though the Creator himself has come to visit us as a guest. In yoga, in spiritual practice, this idea is well known. When samadhi arises, it means the Creator has come to you as a guest. I'm trying to express this as clearly and vividly as I can. How will this experience unfold? What can happen and what will you feel when such an honorable guest comes to visit? Everything that happens within you at this moment is part of the experience of samadhi. And such a guest, a being of boundless nature, appears only when you are truly prepared to receive him. What's the source of that readiness? The purity of your intentions and thoughts, a mind that is pure, an intellect that is clear, a body at rest, and a personality that has grown quiet. These are the conditions that allow meditation to happen. It comes as a gift, and the deeper state of samadhi is also a gift. The Creator enters as a guest only when we are truly prepared, and we are prepared only when we have fully devoted ourselves to Him. In yoga, in the Vedic tradition, there is a concept that expresses this devotion: Ishvara pranidhana, which means the great commitment to the highest. People devote themselves to different aspects of life. Some are devoted to their work, others to their families, and some to themselves, or to a noble idea. One may strive to reach the pinnacle of their career. A nuclear physicist, for example. They may dedicate all their effort in service to the world, and that in itself is a positive quality. It naturally leads to a certain degree of realization. But Ishvara pranidhana is surrender to the highest. When one is truly devoted to the highest, every step they take is offered to the highest. In yoga, this is known as karma yoga. Then the right kind of kriya becomes possible. Kriya means action. When we dedicate each of our actions to the highest through the methods offered in kriya, everything comes together as one whole. Such action contains everything. Bhakti yoga, so often spoken of yet rarely truly understood. Karma yoga, hatha yoga, laya yoga, pranayama yoga, svara yoga, jnana yoga, all of them merge into one action. Just imagine the loftiness that permeates a person in such a moment. They no longer need to mentally dissect yoga into various branches. This happens because their actions become totally pure. And that purity is absolute power. The highest power comparable to the experience of samadhi is unconditional love. Boundless unconditional love is in itself samadhi. That is why certain traditions speak of sahaja samadhi or sarupa samadhi as distinct states. But for those who cling to terminology without grasping the essence, this may appear contradictory. They believe that sarupa samadhi is one type of state, while sahaja samadhi is yet another. No, these are not separate. They are all one. Even so-called mechanical methods, like learning to hold the breath for an extended time through training of the etheric and physical body, can lead to a type of samadhi. These are also elements of Samadhi. For example, water Samadhi, known as Jal Samadhi, or other forms involving practices like burying one's head in the sand, demonstrate that it's entirely possible to suspend one's breath for an extended period. During the recent Kumbh Mela, we had a chance to witness many yogis practicing various techniques. I have attended this festival 5 or 6 times, and on one occasion, I witnessed someone who held their breath for an hour and a half. He was wrapped in cloth, tied in a sack, and buried in sand. His head was completely enclosed. He remained like this for quite some time, demonstrating that he had entered a state of Samadhi. This isn't a spiritual Samadhi, yet quite an interesting experience. It's worth noting that in such states, a person maintains complete control over the processes, and their consciousness remains focused, regardless of personal intention. The very act of deep concentration, irrespective of the objective, can itself give rise to profound meditative states, and in some cases even lead to Samadhi. I bring this up to clarify that Samadhi is the manifestation of the Creator, the manifestation of God. It is a deeply spiritual state. I won't name any well-known spiritual leaders now, so as to avoid any potential issues. But I can say with certainty, all godly spiritual leaders have experienced Samadhi. Every one of them. That's it. And I'll add this, no karma can stand in the way of someone whose longing and love for the divine, for the Creator, is deep and unwavering. For them, all karmic shackles simply fall away. Then Samadhi arises, because the Creator Himself comes. That's how I see it. I know it from experience. This is my deep conviction, born from personal experience and realization. That truly says it all.